Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Roszipou, and for today's video I'll be doing my theme for September 2021. If you're new here, all my plan with me videos, all my themes in my current bullet journal are all based off of video games, but I always try my best that if you're really not into video games, you can still take some inspiration from my themes anyway. My theme for this month is based off the game Pheonix Wright Ace Attorney. It is a classic visual novel game that is all about true crimes and mostly mystery solving. It was developed by Capcom and it was released in 2021. Like, oh my god, it's so old. I'm aging myself over here. It first released on the Game Boy Advance and I played through those games for the first time ever more recently because I got for myself the trilogy on Switch that is available on the eShop, and I've been loving those games. There's something about these games that make me feel like very satisfied. Like when I'm able to solve a mystery, I just feel like so smart and it's incredibly satisfying. I really like those games. So right off the bat, I was hesitating between two themes for September. It was either this theme, which I ended up going with, or Persona 5. I figured that Persona would fit more with October, so this is why I went with Ace Attorney. Because it took me so long to decide on which theme, and on top of that, I am right in the middle of working on my shop update. This is kind of like the reason why the video is so late, so I'm really sorry. So first off, I am working on my cover page. I wanted to illustrate the courtroom, there we go, which is where most of the action of the game happens. I basically just looked at a screenshot of the courtroom of the video game, of course, and I just hand drawn all the panels and the walls and stuff, and I just went over with my Crayola SuperTips. As for the title, I tried to recreate the famous objection speech bubble, but instead of writing down objection, I just wrote September instead. Now it would be a good moment to mention that I mostly write in my bullet journal in French because, you know, French is my first language, if you couldn't already tell. So especially when it comes to date, month, days, I'm gonna be writing them in French. So yes, I know that the E and the R are flip for you if you speak English and you are doing your bullet journal in English. But just flip them. That's how we say septembre in French, which is September. And as for the quote, I went with a quote from the game this time that says, "Try thinking outside of the box." This quote ended up being more significant than what I was creating this thing because I'm gonna be straight up honest with you guys. Most of the spread that I did this month, I ended up like looking at them and finding that they were a little bit too flat to me. Most of the time I would end up like, you know, stop the recording, sit away, think for a bit, and try to find a solution that was a little bit outside of the box to make those spread shine more. I felt like I had some good ideas for this theme, but because I really didn't have the time to sit and try to make this theme shine and find original ways to include my tricolors and whatnot, I am not as satisfied of this theme, especially if you compare to what I did for August. It was probably the best theme I ever did in my bullet journal career, and I thought that this thing would be like amazing and stuff. It ended up like this. Honestly, I still quite like it. It's not like, you know, my 100% how I saw it in my head. I even hesitated of posting this video, but I figured it would be a good way to show you guys that sometimes things don't just work out as we think it would. It's nice to show all of our great spreads over the internet, over Instagram, what we're proud of, but I think it's also important to remember that not every month is perfect. Not all the spreads are not always super pretty. It's just part of the process, you know. Anyway, back to the video. I'm adding the final touches to my monthly cover page. I added some blue over the quote box, if that makes sense. Oh, as for the palette, I mainly went with red and blue markers, as well as a little bit of my Tombow brush pen in the grayscale tone, and Crayola SuperTips, like I mentioned. Next, I am working on my monthly calendar spread, and this one is a catastrophe. I wanted to recreate another point of view of the courtroom in the game, which is where some of the characters give their testimony. Because I would be using a 2-page calendar, I wasn't sure if it would be a great idea of redrawing the whole courtroom again. I didn't want it like this spread to be all fleshed out yellow, just like I did for my cover page. So I just went with the podium and the flags for my goals of the month. But it kind of looks really empty. Off camera, I even added some washi tape, but I ended up getting rid of them because I didn't thought it would look that good. I draw a little justice weight scale to make it less empty, but it just ended up looking a little bit silly. I don't know. I pretty much gave up on that spread mid-through. So, you know, I tried to make it work the best that I could with the ideas that I had. But yeah, like I said a little bit earlier, you know, sometimes things just don't work out the way that we saw them. I thought it was a genius idea, and now looking back at it, I know I could have made it work, but for some reason, it just looks a little bit empty. Feel free to let me know in the comments below what you would have added to the spread to make it like less empty. I don't know, I feel like my spreads are like so much dynamics and like vibrant and stuff, and this one it's just like a little bit meh. But yeah, I don't want to beat myself too much about it, because I also know that September is going to be a busy month for me. So in the end of the day, maybe it's better for me that I did end up using a lot of decoration for this spread, because, you know, maybe in the end of the day I would have ended up regretting it. So for my calendar, I just went up with like very basic lines. I didn't draw the vertical line because, you know, again, I thought maybe it would be a little bit too much. I also tried to give it a drop shadow at the beginning. I feel like if I would have never drawn that freaking drop shadow, it would have looked so much better. Anyways, I wrote down September once again. I used kind of like the boxing that I did in my quote page a little bit earlier, with my Tombow brush pen in gray and my blue marker. And now into the next spread. I am working on my favorite spread of this month. I'm really proud of it. And yeah, I really can't wait to show you guys. So I went on and print a grid graphic that I made myself. Pretty easy. If you know your ways around Photoshop, you can do it yourself as well. I printed out and I sticked it inside of my journal. I wanted to recreate a point in the game, in the last case where we are able to examine items. So big brain moment here. I wanted to make my trackers look like piece of evidence. So for my mood tracker, I'm going to be drawing the name Maya as a reference to the second case of the game, and I'm going to be using red markers to write down her name, and I'm going to do like a little stroke every single day, that I'm going to be also numerating like with my finest black pen next to it, so I know exactly which day is what, basically. And depending on the shade of red that I'm gonna be using, will depend on my mood. So a more darker red is gonna equal to maybe bad mood, and a lighter red, almost pink, that I am very, very happy. So I'm also using the grid graphic that I did to, you know, just write my title. So I cut 2 rectangle in this random sheet of paper. On one of them, I'm gonna be writing mood, and the other one I'm gonna be writing habit on it. I also had this nice idea of, like, you know, making the borders gray. So I also use this same piece of paper to, you know, kind of like use it to write on it, so all the corners can be filled with gray. I'm using my rim markers to do this kind of, like, I don't know how to call it. It's like a rounded corner rectangle, but the corners are like inwards. Don't know how to properly say it, so feel free to let me know in the comments. So right now you are just like looking at me writing down mood and habit, and I'm also gonna be sticking them to this graphic design that I did. And question of the day for you guys: when you use a mood tracker in your journal, if you do you tend to use darker colors for darker mood and lighter colors for happier mood, or is it the opposite? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. And now I kind of want to take the time to, you know, do some shameless promo over here. On August 30th, 9 a.m. on roszipou.bigcartel.com, I'm gonna be having my shop update. Just like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I'm gonna have a bunch of new stickers incoming, and most of my newest stickers are all about bullet journal planners. So if you struggle like me to make perfect looking calendars, well, I got you. I made a bunch of design of little habit trackers, even future log, the days of the week if you struggle to, you know, write down in a beautiful cursive calligraphy. So once again, feel free to go check out my store at roszipou.bigcartel.com if you want to get some for yourself. So now for my habit tracker, I'm just using my handy habit tracker calendars, and I'm just like sticking down to my journal. And now I have to say, if you look carefully, you're gonna notice that the calendars on this journal, on this sticker sheet, are 6 square wide instead of 7. I didn't realize my mistake right away, but I promise you, if you do get some sticker sheets from my store on August 30th, I promise you they're gonna be 7 square wide. I actually realized it a little bit later in the video, and you can, if you look closely, you can see the panic in my and in my pen of like, oh no, I did a mistake. I have to restart all those sticker sheets that I did. But either way, so I use my sticker calendars for my habits on the right side, and on another piece of paper I actually wrote down the word Emma, because it's another reference to the last case of the game about a girl, Emma. Her name is written down on a vase, I believe. I don't remember correctly. It's been a while since I completed the first game, but you know, it would be a little bit weird to stick a piece of pottery in your journal, so I just went up with another stick of paper, and I thought that maybe because I'm gonna be writing down the name Maya, having the same thing on the other side for my habit tracker will, you know, kind of fit very well. And you can also see the shades of red that I'm gonna be using for my mood tracker, and kind of like the effects that I wanted to do. So yeah, there we go. Next up, I'm going to be working on my monthly task and my brand dump spread. If you have been watching my video for a while, you know I do love a very empty spread in my during my month, because I really like to have as much space as I need to write down all of my ideas. I don't like decorating too much. I tried very decorative monthly task and brand dump spread in the past. If you look at my Pokemon team that I did in February, for example, it ended up being like super overwhelming for me. So on now on, I try to keep them as empty as possible, but still try to make them, you know, good looking. So after the catastrophe of the calendar spread, I really didn't want it to risk anything, so I just went up and printed a picture of Pheonix Wright and Miles Hedgeworth, the main characters of the game, who are kind of like rivals in a way. They're both doing their pose when they scream objection, and I thought it would be a nice balance if I glued the both of them. So on each side, I mean. So yeah, right now I'm just working on the titles of my spread. So on one piece of paper, I wrote down monthly task, still using the same font as the objection thingy, and I cut it as a speech bubble. I'm also using that same piece of paper to just like I did for my mood and my habit tracker title, to kind of like cover all the hedges in my gray tumble brush pen. I also did the same thing for the Brandom. And yeah, I was kind of like stuck again at this point. I thought it was like too empty, you know? Maybe if I would have hand draw the characters by myself, it would have looked a little bit better. But again, it's kind of like at that point that I just stopped the recording at some point. I went down and sit, and I tried to look at what I did in the past in my bullet journal to not make those spreads as empty. I tried to think outside of the box. So, you know, I tried some stuff around. I was just like, you know, I'm just gonna let it go. I'm not gonna try to overthink too much about it. I just want this spread to look good. So I decided to, again, use my blue and my red marker. And as you're gonna notice, Pheonix Wright kind of represents, you know, the blue corner. And Miles Edgeworth kind of represents the red corner. So on Pheonix side, I decided to frame my spread with the red marker, and for the Brandom side, I decided to use my blue marker to kind of like, you know, put a little bit of perspective in there. I also use my gray tumble brush pen to give a little bit of, you know, a drop shadow effect, kind of like a little bit of perspective. Again, I did the same for Miles and Pheonix Wright as well. And then I just started to put sparkles everywhere. It doesn't have nothing related to the game. There's like no cutie or like kawaii moment or like cute sparkly woman. I just thought that, you know, it would make the spread feels less empty. And, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I do think that Miles and Pheonix are good looking characters. You know, they're my little babies. So, yeah, I feel like adding sparkles just like woke up something inside of me. And it kind of fits very well in a weird way. Now, I am convinced I can confidently say that sparkles are the answer to everything. Don't know what to do in your journal, you don't have washi tapes or whatever, put a sparkle, put a little doodle. Do I sound like I'm in the rage right now? Oh my goodness, either way. Sparkles save life, that's it. And lastly, I am moving on to this last spread of this Plan With Me video, which is my first weekly spread. Right now, I am, you know, just sticking stuff around. I wrote down task in, again, another speech bubble that just looks like the objection thing. I use some leftover of my grid design that I did a little bit earlier that I used for my mood and my habit tracker. I cut on some piece of paper and some craft paper as well to make it look like an envelope. I don't really know what I'm doing at this point. I stick one of my habit tracker calendar because I thought that, you know, it was a perfect size, and this is kind of like where I realized that, you know, I done messed up. So I'm just writing down the dates. I'm using my red pen for the weekdays and my blue pen for the days of the weekend. And yeah, so the concept for this weekly spread is a little bit weird. I'm kind of like trying this. So on the left side, I left space only for my task of the week, what I need to be working on for next week after that, and also the little calendar. And on the left side, this is where I have all the days of the week. I used again those, don't know how to call them, rectangle that has a rounded corner inwards thingy. I don't know, I just looks like, it looks like those type of rectangle, just looks like classy, and I thought that it fit like the classier theme of like attorneys and lawyers in general. Either way, so I kind of like alternated the colors for the rectangles again to so they look, you know, even and good, I guess. And yeah, I also use my, again, handy dandy gray brush pen. I did a little circle to write down the dates of the week. I did again a little bit of perspective thingy around the task title, and added some little washi tape, not too much, just a little bit. Some sparkles, obviously sparkles are the answer for the spread. I think I know now. I just need to add sparkles everywhere to make everything look good. And that's pretty much it. That's how I did my Ace Attorney theme for the month of September. I'm really glad that I did this theme anyway, even though it was a little bit out of my comfort zone. And like I said, sometimes things doesn't work out the way that we want them to. And I hope that you get that video help you guys to not feel as bad when your journal doesn't look as good as you planned it to. So yeah. So once again, thank you so much for watching this video fully. If you keep up until the end, feel free to leave a sparkling heart emoji in the comments. Make sure to also follow me on Instagram if you want to see all the other weekly spreads that I did for this month. And once again, be on the lookout for August 30th for my incoming shop update if you're interested into those habit tracker calendars that I think are very handy dandy, by the way. And yeah, I hope that you will be looking for my next Playing With Me video, and I hope that we'll be able to nail the Persona team. So once again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to keep up with my videos. Have a good rest of your day, stay safe and stay pink, and enjoy this final flip through. Goodbye, friends!